Welcome back to the channel. Today, I finally get to work on something else that's not mine, and it's not an LT1. This car is gonna get a new set of heads that are CNC ported and a cam from Texas Speed. Maybe a couple other goodies along the line. And then after all that, if the weather holds up, we'll take it down the road about an hour away to get it dyno tuned. A lot of people hate working on these F-bodies because they say there's no room to work on them, or used to. Joke's on them, if you've seen today's cars, there is all types of room to work on this thing. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. I'm gonna pull the coolant out of this, get the radiator and all that fun stuff off, and then we'll start worrying about the rest of it. These bellows always stick. Yeah. Ah, that's neat. Check this out. This right here is a little bit old school, but it's not unheard of, and I think they still do it. It used to be like the Chris 1313 or CR, I don't know, CS, CR, whatever it is. I think they called it the Chris 1313 Ram Air Kit. It's just a piece of sheet metal that goes right up front of the condenser and the radiator, and it forces air right up into the lid assembly and then straight in the throttle body. And this really came out in the late 2000s. And if I remember right, it was dyno proven to be better. I don't know, maybe I can find the thread of it and post it below. That's a little bit old school. That's neat to see. So originally I was gonna take the radiator out first. But then I needed to lift the car up and unplug the fans. So I decided, hey, while you're up here, let's just take the intake off. I'm not knocking whoever worked on this car previously, but there is just some interesting things that they did. And sometimes people don't know any better, but I applaud whoever was working on it just for working on it and learning some things. But we just take this intake manifold off, and sure, we have the GMT, but if we follow this hose here, it comes down to a spot that they just electrical taped it. And that's not as good as a plug. I promise you that thing was leaking. So it's just little things like that that add up. That's okay, we're here, we'll fix it now. So I got it up in the air because I needed to unhook the fans or unplug them so I can pull those out the top. And then I also needed to unbolt the exhaust so I can move the headers around while I unbolt the heads. I am all about making an exhaust pretty solid so we don't have any rattles. Solid Y pipe joint. So that can't be removed. A nice huge crack in the Y pipe all the way around. And the worst, please do not do this. A welded Y pipe straight to the long tube. It's all stainless. It's a nice exhaust. It looked really nice. And then you ruined it. I'm gonna have to get the Sawzall and cut this off. I love putting V-bands on everything and making it really nice and removable easily, but this has been mounted solid for however long. Can't be that long. It's a low mileage car. Low mileage to me anyways. I think anything under 100,000 miles is low. But this car has like 60,000 miles on it, and all the stainless exhaust is cracked on it. So we're either gonna have to get some new stuff or weld it up. That's too bad. Finally got the Y pipe off, right where it was cracked. Funny thing is, since it was welded so solid, it was actually way worse than it looked. It's fixable. I just think that it's gonna do it again there just because of how the design is. I'll figure something out. Get these radiator and fans out. Come on. What's hanging me up? That's it. That's it. Now the water pump's gotta come off. Ooh. Well, that was messier than I would have liked. Now someone's opened this up. I don't know how far yet. We'll see as I pull off timing cover. But I've noticed some clips that just haven't been quite right, and now we can see that this has aftermarket water pump gasket on it. The OE water pump gaskets are metal with a little bit of rubber O-ring, and that's what will be going back on it. But just some of the things I've noticed, some of the clips haven't been quite right, some of the routing of the hoses hasn't been quite right. For it having the low mileage that it does, I do know that somebody's at least put a water pump on it, which wouldn't be uncommon. It's not unheard of for a 24-year-old car. We'll keep searching. We'll see what we find out. Now, I always like to pick the most challenging head to get off first. Mainly because everything takes so much longer. As I mean more challenging, I just totally forgot to unbolt something. Well, to say that these head bolts didn't kick my butt would be an understatement. It definitely got the crap out of my knuckles. That's part of it. It's mainly that they were a little seized in and I kept cutting them on these valve cover rails. This is really something in these cars that you can do in your own driveway. There's a lot of how-to videos out there to show you every single bit about it. I'm not gonna go through all that because it's just kind of boring in general, but they are out there. All you gotta do is do a YouTube search on it and you'll find everything you need. Now I just need to take this balancer off so we can get the timing cover open up. Oh, that was wrong one. That wasn't that bad. So now we'll get this timing cover off. Just like that, timing cover's off. Gotta throw this stuff in the parts washer. Some people say you can't pull the cam out of these without draining the AC. And you can. You just gotta be really careful with the AC and with the cam, but it can come out like that. What we're doing is the Texas Speed Tsunami Cam. I usually run BTR stuff, but Texas Speed has been around forever as well. They've also developed a ton of awesome cams for the 4th gen LS and also for the 5th gen. So I wanted just to do something different this time. So here's what we ended up getting from them. We got the valve springs, the cam, the trunnion upgrade, push rods. Now some of you guys are gonna hate on me for this, but I always typically, unless there's something wrong with the lifters, something doesn't feel right, maybe there's some scoring on the roller, I always reuse them. When it comes to lifters, when you're looking for something that's gonna have great longevity on the road, I don't think you're gonna beat the stock lifters. As long as they're in great condition, they weren't bleeding down, there's nothing wrong with reusing stock lifters. We're not in flat tappet days where they wore into the cam. I actually can't remember the last time I put an aftermarket set of lifters in if it wasn't on a solid roller setup. Camshaft is in. I had to order a timing set because this one had a lot more slack than what I was hoping for. Otherwise I would have reused it, but it's just, there's too much play in it for me to be comfortable with. So we're waiting on parts, waiting on a new cam thrust plate. In the meantime, I can clean up the deck of the block. That way you can get ready to put some head gaskets in as I'm waiting on those two. I'm finishing up bolting down these heads, and I'm personally on this project using ARP head bolts. You can buy new torque to yield bolts, or some people like to play it a little bit on the risky side and reuse the original ones. For this, I really feel like it's buy once, cry once. In case you ever want to do anything else or something goes wrong, you can reuse these head bolts. But as I'm bolting these on, I realized that I haven't really told you what I'm putting in this. So the heads are 243 castings that we had ported by Katech. Now I kind of polished the front to a mirror finish there because I can. There's gonna be a lot of haters. Why'd you go with the Katech? There's such better options. You can go with the PRC 2.5. Don't care. When you're working on something like this, is that extra 10 or 15 horse really gonna be worth it? This isn't an all-out track car. It doesn't matter. You are not gonna feel the difference between that 10 or 15 horsepower on the street with a street tire. No matter what, it's gonna blow them off. It's gonna be awesome. So why not save that $1,000 or $2,000, whatever the difference is, and buy some suspension or put some rear gears in it. You'll notice 410s in this thing well before you notice the 2.5s versus these stock 243 ported castings. Anyways, rant over. How can I get these done? I'm using the Cloy's 3220. So while I have this timing chain off, I thought I would show you it compared to a stock one. Now, there is a difference between the cam sprockets themselves. This is the OE one, and you can tell that it does have some of the lighter holes in it. We look at this one, it's more universal. It has the pickup on it for the cam, for the ones that have the sensor in the cover. Doesn't matter, we're picking up the sensor on the back of the cam. Let's look at this chain. if we look at it side by side, there's a pretty big difference in it per width. So just the links are thicker, the chain's a little bit wider, and you can tell that the rollers are bigger as well. It's a direct replacement. I've used it many times. I also like the Elgin timing chains, but this one was a little bit quicker to get here. The Elgin was for some reason on back order about everywhere, but either way, had this one in a day. We're gonna throw it on. All right, got the new crank gear on, new cam sprocket, that heavier duty chain. Look at that tension. So much nicer than that stretched out factory one. Now, we're going to have a blast putting that oil pump back on, getting it spun around and centered and bolted back up. Timing covers on, oil pans back on and torqued. So I need to drop the push rods in, and then we'll put the rockers on that I put the trunnion upgrade kit on. Let's take a look at these push rods. So with something like the Tsunami Cam, you really should go with something that's a one-piece hardened push rod. With the increased spring pressure, it's not uncommon to bend a push rod, or these friction welded balls can break off. So I just went ahead and picked up the Texas Speed push rods. Anyways, let's drop these in. Putting the rocker arms here. You see what a stock one looks like right here, and then here's one with the Texas Speed trunnion kit. It's just a lot more reliable, a little bit safer, and it does deal with high spring pressures a lot better than what the factory design does. One thing to note when you're dealing with ported castings are the rocker stud holes. So as you can see right here, this one goes all the way through, whereas this one does not. Now, the exhaust side, when they port, does not go all the way through, and it's gonna be solid. Usually when they do porting, it does go all the way through into the intake port, as you can see. Now some of you guys may go, well duh, everybody knows that, but that's not true. I've had quite a few cars come in here that look like they're burning oil. People say that the guys are wiped out of them, the rings are junk, they think they got a huge blow-by problem, and really all the problem is they didn't seal the rocker studs as they go through on the intake side. So it sucks oil down through there and burns it out the exhaust. I was really hoping to have this whole car, this head cam swap and dyno, all in one video. But if you've been watching the channel, it seems like I can't do anything in just one episode. Unfortunately, I'm waiting on some parts. I have a steam vent tube kit for a throttle body bypass to come, and then I also need a set of injectors. I got to thinking, there's no way that these stock 24 or whatever they are is gonna support the power that this will make. So just putting this together, I was at the point where I was getting ready to slide the headers up into it, and I just noticed some surface rust. So I called Josh, asked him what he wanted me to do with it. As you can see, just on this seam, it's kind of starting a little bit. Nice light surface there. And then as you come here, just some surface that goes all the way back. I'm not knocking this car. It's super clean, super low miles. It is a crazy nice car. I've never owned one this nice. So I just asked him, hey, what do you want me to do with this? You want me to leave it, throw these headers on? And he said, no, go ahead and scuff it and put a stop to it. So we're gonna sand this, put some rust converter on it, let it all dry, and then we'll be able to slide the headers up in it. And then I have to go to Tennessee for a couple days. When I come back next week, I'll button it up, make the dyno appointment, and get this thing tuned. Thanks for watching. Apologize it's not all in one video, but if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe, and I'm hoping to have the next one out in 1 to 2 weeks. See you later.